What I'm about to tell you is not particularly easy for me to, because it means, in many respects, the end of my life as I have wanted it. I'm going to make an allegation that there are people within the New South Wales government who have covered up information about the death of a schoolboy. I'm going to make an allegation that there are people within the New South Wales government that have harassed and smeared me deliberately so as to prevent information about the death of the schoolboy from being made public, and also to cover details of information about a bungled pedophile investigation. I'm going to allege that there are people that have known about this, that have covered up information about this. People that I have told, people from the media, people from the authorities, from the police, from responsible bodies that are supposed to take a look at information about corruption within governments. This is my story. I won't give you names and I won't give you dates as long as I can avoid doing that, because I don't want to get into trouble for what it is that I'm going to say. I was being harassed by people within my office where I worked. It didn't matter to me that much that I was being harassed, because wherever people work, you're always going to endure some kinds of harassment, some kinds of things. I was willing to endure the slings and arrows of misfortune, and I was willing for fortune to smile on me as well, as those people would eventually move on. What I didn't expect to happen was what happened. I met this boy who died. He didn't die when I knew him. He had died a year later. But I had warned the authorities about this boy having been at risk. I wrote about this as soon as the boy died and as soon as I realized what had happened. I didn't approach the authorities and tell them that everything that I knew, because I didn't think it was necessary. Because I was being harassed, I didn't want my harassment to be linked to the death of the boy, because if I started talking to the authorities about the death of the boy, then it might be thought that I was just somebody with sour grapes talking about this boy, trying to build up something, and I didn't think that would be fair. So I didn't say much about it publicly at the time. But I was very surprised when the authorities who knew that the boy was at risk didn't admit that they knew that the boy was at risk, that it was covered up. I read the coroner's report into the death recently, and I've seen that there were significant people that were never asked important questions, and that seems deliberate to me. Round about the time of the death of the boy and my writing about this, people at my workplace were beginning to increase their harassment of me, and I got contacted by my workplace to be told that they weren't going to listen to any of my complaints. And the reason why they gave that they weren't going to listen to any of my complaints was because the boy had died. Round about that time, I had an high school anniversary reunion, which I didn't attend. But one of my school friends from back then did attend, and afterwards got in touch with me. They told me that they were well positioned within the state government, and I shared with them some of the things that I had been writing. Things to do with the death of the boy, but also other things to do with politics, and other things to do with my friends, and things to do with my family. The person who got in touch with me was asking me questions about girlfriends and things like that, which was difficult for me to answer because I've never dated. I told him everything that I had done, and when he found out that I didn't really have any girlfriends and that there wasn't any dirt, I imagine that's what he was looking for, he stopped communicating with me. But then, not long after that, there was a change at my workplace at very senior levels. A person was put there who didn't like what it was that I had been writing, and they ordered that I delete the material. They didn't order me to delete all the material, but just some of it that was significant. The things that my friend from school might not have liked. I objected and I was threatened, my job was threatened. I was told that if I didn't delete my material that I would lose my job. I had about 2.5 million words and images on the internet at that time, and I deleted that. A year afterwards, when I deleted it, I had told my employer that I couldn't continue working with the harassment that I was experiencing because it had escalated. And I wrote a letter to the minister asking that they intervene on my behalf. The minister got somebody to telephone me and ask me a few questions about what I had written to them. And then I got a letter saying that all my problems, all of my queries, all of my questions were going to be dismissed. I had threatened to resign, so I resigned. After I resigned, approached the minister again. But I didn't want to approach the minister the same way as I had before, because I thought that there was politics that were involved. My old school friend may have done something to parachute somebody in position of authority and threaten my job, and I thought that they might have been connected with the minister or covering up things in some way. So I went and saw a local federal member of politics and asked if they intervene. And they referred me to the state member, who was a minister. And from that person, I got another message and a lot of information given to the federal minister who was responsible for my area of workplace. It took them 8 weeks to investigate. And when they had finished their investigation, they sent me a reply from the federal minister to my state member and from my state member to me, saying that I didn't have any grounds for complaint. But if I wished to talk to somebody about it, I could talk to the person that I had named as my abuser. I had no recourse left for action. My state member had threatened me. I had approached newspapers and I had approached television to see if they would help me with my story. They agreed. But when I spoke to my state member, they had asked me who I'd approached. And after I spoke to my state member, the media people that I had spoken to changed their minds and decided that they would not help me. I asked one of my local papers if they would continue with the story, and they suggested that it was a smear that would stop them from doing that. And they referred to my relationship with girls, which I don't have any of. 20 months have passed since I have lost my job through resignation. A state minister had investigated my case and took their time doing it. And as a result, I was timed out of industrial relations court. I've been on unemployment benefits for the last 15 months or so. I have used up all of my savings. Soon, I'm going to lose my unit. I'm going to default on my home loan because I don't have any money to support myself. I have been declared unfit to work, but if I had never resigned, I would still be able to continue working. I resigned to protect people that I worked with. I have done nothing wrong, but I have been threatened. I have approached the police and told them everything I know. The mother and father of the child that died are not aware of what I know. There is a possibility that my life has been threatened. It's made less of a possibility by my having approached the police and having told significant people about my issues, but it's a threat nonetheless. In 10 days I default on my home loan. I want my life back, and I've got nowhere else to turn to. I beg you, please do what you can for me.